Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Maria Bermudez and I am a disability lawyer with Disability Advocacy Group. Today we're going to be talking about a question that comes up a lot in different forums, Facebook, Reddit, even at Social Security's own offices. Do you need a lawyer to apply for Social Security disability benefits? Sometimes people will even call me, my office, as a Social Security lawyer, and they'll ask, do I need you? Do I even need a lawyer to apply for benefits? So the short answer is no, you don't need a lawyer to apply for benefits. Do you want a lawyer? Is it recommended? Is it valuable? That's completely different, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So the reason you don't need a lawyer to apply for benefits is because these are public benefits. The application is available online, ssa.gov, or you can go into your local office where you would apply for, a new Social Security card, and you can apply for benefits right at your local office. Now, it can be more complicated than that, just filing the application, because Social Security has a lot of rules. They have a lot of regulations. They're governed by case law. They're governed by internal procedures, like their programs operations manuals, a different rule system called HALEX. So there's a lot that goes into how Social Security functions as an organization and how they decide claims. A Social Security claim has technical rules, like do you meet the technical eligibility requirements? And then there's the evaluation of disability, which is a 5-step analysis. So when you're considering all of Social Security's regulations, their rulings, their internal procedures, and federal case law that exists out there, it may be beneficial for you to have someone who's able to pull from all of those different things and compare them to your individual circumstances. So Social Security, the evaluation of disability is extremely subjective. A lot of people don't realize that. There's some cases, like compassionate allowances, where it's very clear cut. You have this diagnosis, you are going to be found to be disabled. That's streamlined because of the severity of that diagnosis. Social Security recognizes that that person's automatically going to meet the criteria. And those cases move very quickly. Often it's just a few weeks. However, the majority of the cases where people are filing for disability benefits and they're going through that 5-step analysis, it's not that clear cut. These cases can take months, years, sometimes several years. I've had cases that go all the way up to federal court after appeal, and then they come back, they have to have a new hearing. So it can be a long, drawn-out process, and everything matters, starting from the preparation of the initial application. So that's why I do think that while you don't need a lawyer, sometimes many times it may be good for you to have a lawyer, because getting it right from the very beginning can have a significant impact later on. When you get to federal court, everything is in that file, and we're drawing on that when we're doing our briefing, when we're doing our motions for judgment. Whatever you write in that initial application, it's still important down the line, several appeals later. So that's one of the reasons. The experience, having somebody who's experienced, who knows what they're doing, who knows Social Security's rules, who knows how Social Security's rules apply to your individual circumstances. There's a value to that. And then also just in doing the application itself, knowing, what information is especially important to focus on versus what information is going to, be unnecessary fluff to, create burdens along the way. So say, for example, you have a case where it's a back condition, a lumbar disorder case, and rheumatoid arthritis. So say there's two conditions that you're really focusing on. So you're definitely going to want to make sure that whatever those tests are that are related to rheumatoid arthritis, that maybe the positive rheumatoid factor or whatever, that's noted in the initial application. That if you had a lumbar MRI, it's definitely noted in that initial application that showed abnormalities. And then giving Social Security based on the rules, based on the regulations, what is the theory of disability based on those conditions and in your individual circumstances. So that's going to differ if you're over 50 versus if you're under 50. Do you meet a listing at step 3? Your Social Security attorney is going to potentially highlight that in your initial application or in your reconsideration appeal, definitely at the hearing. Right? If you meet one of Social Security's, what we call it the grid, the medical vocational guidelines, if you're, 50 or over 50 years old, 55 or older. So depending on your age, your education, your work experience, the theory of disability, the basis for which you should be awarded benefits is going to be different, maybe different at step 3 as well, depending on your conditions. If you meet the criteria for the listing for, autoimmune disorders, that's something that many times you won't know most of the time. Your doctors don't know. Doctors, aren't trained in this, right? They're trained in their specialty, but your Social Security lawyer would know. So that's why it's important to at least consider getting representation when you're considering filing an initial application for benefits. I hear a lot of times where at the Social Security office, someone may say, "Oh no, you don't need a lawyer." And while that's true, you don't need a lawyer. Given the context, I don't think it's good that, people are deterred from at least getting a consultation. Another thing is, depending on you, do you get overwhelmed easy? Are you picking up the phone? Are you able to take calls if Social Security is calling you to ask you for more information? Do you get overwhelmed when things come in the mail and you have to fill out packets of paperwork, because they're going to be sending you these packets of paperwork that are like your function report, your work history report, these things that you have to be able to give very specific details on what you do during the day, that sort of thing. So if you don't have someone walking you through these things and you get overwhelmed, you may need an advocate, you may need an attorney to help you, to at least explain to you, listen, this is what to expect, and this is what they're looking for, this is what you should be focusing on. These are all important things to make sure that you get it right, to increase your chances of getting approved. And in general, people who are represented have a higher percentage of getting approved. This doesn't mean you're definitely going to get approved at your initial application if you have a lawyer. That's not true. However, statistically, people who are represented do get awarded at higher rates. So how do you increase your chances of being able to get a lawyer? So one is to be prepared. Next is to be respectful and to be organized. Lawyers want to work with people who appreciate their services, who understand that they're coming with value, with training and expertise in this field, and that they have their information. So when you're meeting with a lawyer, when you're getting a consultation, it's important to know, what are you diagnosed with? What kinds of doctors are you treating with? Where are they located? I mean, on your initial consultation, you don't necessarily have to give all of that information. They're not going to, be, at least I'm not asking all of that information, at first. We're not, once we do onboarding, that information is important. But be prepared. Like, okay, yeah, I had an evaluation with a neurologist for my seizure disorder. I tried Keppra, I couldn't tolerate it, so then they tried this. So you have to be able to tell the lawyer, what is going on with you, so that they know, is this a case that we're likely going to be able to get approved, or is this a case where you're not likely to get approved, and they may be able to offer you other recommendations, whether that's a referral to a different advocacy group or a different lawyer, or they may say, listen, I don't think you're going to get approved. You may need to consider going back to work or getting retrained. That happens sometimes too. And even that's valuable, because if a lawyer is telling you that, you may want to get more than one opinion, 2, 3, these are many times they're complementary. these consultations are free, and you don't have to pay for the representation unless you win your case, and it comes out of your back pay. So getting, at least an opinion, I think is invaluable. And then the next thing is to be respectful. As lawyers, we know that this is probably the most devastating time of your life. The inability as an adult to take care of yourself is incredibly scary. The uncertainty, not knowing whether or not you're even going to be approved, and you're going to, or how long, there's some cases that I have where it's gone on years, and you may have to be reliant on people who you don't even like, or family members that you don't want to be around, and you have to live with them because you can't, support yourself, or a spouse that you don't want to be with, but you really don't have other options, or adult children you may not want to live with, or you feel like you're a burden on them. I hear that all the time. People feel like they're a burden on their family members. So for all of these reasons, it's an incredibly difficult process. No one wants to file for disability benefits that I've ever met in 16 years. But these are things that have to be done because they can't work anymore. So that said, it's still important to be respectful of your lawyer and the law office and not take your frustrations out on them. Then it's very unlikely they're going to be willing to work with you or want to work with you, especially knowing that it could be 2 years, 3 years, 4 years that they have to interact with you. So even if you have mental health conditions, you have to figure out a way to communicate in a respectful way with your lawyer and your lawyer's team. So finally, other times when you should definitely consider getting legal representation when it comes to Social Security cases is definitely at the administrative law judge level. These files can be upwards of 1,000 pages between your medical records, your prior applications, your prior appeals, the correspondence, meaning the letters that went back and forth, and a lawyer's going to be able to look at that, see what's missing, because you won't always fully realize with your review of the file, if you're even able to open up the CD that they send you, you are not going to necessarily be able to, for sure know, okay, this is missing, or this is missing, or this is important, this should be in my file, or this isn't important, it's just going to inflate the file and confuse people, So these are things that are important that a lawyer will be able to help with, is completing your file, requesting medical records, making sure that they're submitted, getting medical opinions from your doctors, recommending third-party statements from family and friends that may be able to help with your case. Recommending that you get, say, a log if you have migraines, to determine what the frequency is of them, or things like that. That's not every lawyer has their own style and their own recommendations, but a lot of times that they are similar. So having a lawyer who's able to review your administrative file and help you prepare for an administrative law judge hearing is invaluable, and it's really important. Help you prepare for testimony, help you prepare for, if you're in federal court, the motions, the brief, the complaint. So all of this is really important, and while you can do it all on your own, that does not necessarily mean you shouldn't. As a matter of fact, at federal court, I definitely don't think you should do it on your own, because there's, understanding case law and understanding the federal court process in general. I think in most areas you wouldn't do that alone. So Social Security is not exempt at the federal court level. I would definitely recommend that you're represented by an attorney who is familiar with and experienced in federal court practice specifically. So that's about all I have on this. I hope you found this information helpful. I'm Maria Bermudez with Disability Advocacy Group, and we do offer complimentary case evaluations if you're interested. And we can be reached at disabilityadvocacygroup.com. Thanks. See you on the next one.